Welcome back to the Wizard Weekly, where we talk about everything happening right now in gaming. We still don't know much about the Nintendo Switch 2. I mean, they did leak the dimensions, the price range, most of the accessories so far, but we still don't know much. And one thing that we don't know about the Switch 2 that's driving a lot of room for speculation is what the game cases and cartridges are going to look like for this next line of hardware. Now, we do know that original Nintendo Switch games are going to be compatible with the Switch 2, so it's pretty obvious that the cartridges are going to, largely remain the same. But as far as the game cases, that's where people are getting a little bit more creative with their ideas of, what's going to be the future of Nintendo game cases. Because what the original Nintendo Switch has right now as far as its game cases, it works fine. It gets the job done with its PSP box dimensions from back in the day, if you guys remember that. But apparently, in the standard Nintendo Switch 2 rumors that may or may not be true fashion, we've got a listing for a Nintendo Switch 2 Take-Two Interactive game that apparently has the accurate size of the game cases for, the new Nintendo Switch 2 games. And they claim it's going to be about 19.5 centimeters by 13 centimeters. And comparing that box to the original game case of the Nintendo Switch, this is what it looks like. Obviously not that huge of a difference, but more on par with the standard PlayStation 5 and Xbox game cases that we all know and love, which are 13 centimeters by 17 centimeters. So it does fall short a little bit on the height of the box case compared to the PlayStation 5 case, but still, this is what people are going off of right now on the internet, at least. Now, like I said, this may or may not be true, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's not that accurate, because I don't really understand why Nintendo would go like a bigger case for these games. I doubt that would make any logical sense as far as getting the plastic for pretty much the same size cartridge that is you can barely just fit in your pocket. What I would like to see, since Nintendo and pretty much every game maker right now is so bent on not giving us game manuals or anything special inside the cases anymore, since the Switch cartridges are already so small, they could go back to making the DS size game cases from back in the day, those really short, almost square aspect ratio cases. Because let's face it, what else do you need out of a Nintendo game case? Like I said, the cartridges are small. They rarely ever give you a game manual unless it's a third party, special edition type of Nintendo game that gives, extra stuff in there. But as far as their first party games, they don't give you anything. Now, what I personally think is going to happen is that Nintendo, for the physical games that they do, have for the Nintendo Switch 2, I still think they're going to keep the exact same game cases just so they all, flow together on the Nintendo Switch shop rack or whatever store you're buying it from. Maybe they'll change the color to a black or a blue like the Wii U cases, just to differentiate, the game cases from the original Switch. But I would love if they went back to the 3DS era of games where they had these smaller boxes, because it really just makes sense for how small these cartridges already are. And moving on, last video we finally talked about how Sony finally released their PC port of their 2023 Spider-Man 2 game on Steam, and how they finally lifted the whole PlayStation Network requirement on most of their single player PC games and just having it incentivized now. Cool shit or whatever, but now it seems like Sony kinda Spider-Man swing from one building of controversy right into another, because the PC port of Spider-Man 2 is apparently tanking right now because of its poor performance. And as of right now, their Steam game page is at mixed as far as all of their review scores, and it is not looking too good for this game right now that's costing full price pretty much. And as you can see from the top reviews, even people with decent builds of PCs are struggling to run this game, like this dude here with the 4070 Ti claiming that the game is always crashing, and many people are agreeing with this statement. And other than that, the game's performing well, and as you would expect it to, people really do enjoy the Spider-Man game loop, so there's no question on if the game is good or not, but it's gonna be a really hard time to enjoy a game that doesn't run on your system, especially when you have parts that are current gen. And to be fair, even though this is Sony and Insomniac's game and it's their responsibility to make sure that the game is, optimized and whatnot, most of the time, AAA PC ports are always, at least on day one, just ass, because for some reason the optimization just does not translate well from console to PC, at least to these big games like Spider-Man 2. I don't know, maybe the people who ported this game, they just did a lazy job. Who knows what they're getting paid and, the hours that they were in, who knows. But when this is happening for a lot of AAA games because we've seen time and time again, like games like Grand Theft Auto 4, you know, big releases that just have terrible PC ports. It just kind of shows that this whole area of developing is a really complicated thing, and you know, if it's not the right team, it's not going to be done well, at least on day one, without patches. But yeah, I'm sure this will get fixed soon. The similar thing happened to the Last of Us Remastered port that just came out not that long ago as well. So yeah, it's not really a good track record for Sony themselves, but I still do think that, you know, porting games to PC is just a hell of a thing that, you know, a lot of developers aren't that good at. And moving on, BioWare, the once prestigious team from EA that does games like, you know, the Dragon Age series and Mass Effect, they recently had a downsize in their studio following the not so good release of Dragon Age the Veilguard. Now, if you didn't already know, BioWare pretty much confirmed that their main goal right now was this next Mass Effect game that they teased like a couple years ago now. So most of the BioWare team that was working on Dragon Age the Veilguard, you know, before it got released, has been moved to that project, but also a good amount, according to Bloomberg, of 24 of them got laid off following this transition and downsizing of BioWare, since, you know, they don't need as many people with no game to work on right now. And now apparently BioWare has less than 100 people working at the studio right now, compared to the heyday of having over 200 towards, you know, the development cycle of Dragon Age the Veilguard, which, you know, things like this happen all the time, but people are making a really big deal out of it because, you know, we're already in the age of layoffs for game developers. We know how hard it is. So of course, I do wish the best for the folks that did get laid off from this move, but a good amount of the people that was working on BioWare has either been moved somewhere else in EA or they're working on Mass Effect. And that game, I'm not really into the Mass Effect series, so I don't know what to think about that game. But yeah, man, pretty interesting stuff. Unfortunately, Dragon Age the Veilguard didn't perform that well, so this is another reason why it's leaving a lot of bad taste in people's mouths when they hear, you know, people getting laid off and moved to other development studios. But, you know, what can you do about it? And finally for today, I just wanted to briefly talk about something, you know, interesting right now in the gaming world, because I'm sure in some rabbit hole of the internet, you've heard that Multiversus is getting shut down after its 5th season, and, you know, the game's going to be pretty much taken offline, but they're going to leave an offline mode, which is cool, you know, not the best, but still cool. And outside of players that feel sad that the game is being shut down who religiously play this title, people are also feeling kind of scammed by this game, because the people that bought the Founders Pack for $100, however many years ago, you know, that was back when it was in beta, they feel like they're not going to get their full money's worth and want a refund, since the Founders Pack promised 30 character tokens to which you can unlock 30, you know, different characters as they got released during the years. But since some players still have some character tokens left over in the game's dying state, since the game was pretty generous with, you know, giving you free characters or even let you unlock characters with the in-game currency, people feel like they're not, you know, going to get their money's worth for all the character tokens that they got, and feel like, you know, since they're not going to get any more new characters, they should get a refund. Now, I will admit, if I was in this position, I would definitely be making a fuss out of it. Like, I would be mad as hell that, you know, the game didn't get all, you know, enough characters for me to make use of those character tokens. But to be fair to Multiversus and WB Games, they gave you the 30 character tokens. That's all they promised. They didn't promise that, you know, they'd give, you know, enough characters to use all those 30 character tokens, but they still gave you the 30. So it's just one of those annoying, technical, not so much a scam, just a really unfortunate situation, since the game got shut down after season 5. But, you know, it's a terrible situation. It's unfortunate to see what happened to the game Multiversus, you know, just in general. The game had just so much hype when it first came out. I remember everyone playing it, everyone streaming it, making content out of it when it came out. Even I tried to dabble into it, but I don't really like Smash Bros types of games. Like, this is really my flavor. But they just slowed the game down so much that a lot of the core audience just kind of did not come back when, you know, they finally released the game, and it did not perform that well. And that's all that I got for today, man. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.